I recently thought about this concept of the philosophy of pain. A few weeks ago, or maybe a few months ago, a few months ago, I just started thinking about the existence of pain, the reality of pain, and why us as people, human beings, why do we experience pain? And is pain, just because it doesn't feel good, is it actually bad? Is pain bad or is it good? Or is it neither? Pain is pain. It's just reality. Like, reality isn't good or bad. It's reality. Good and bad is just a part of the existence of reality. And then, just like with reality, we break reality down. We have objective reality. We have subjective reality. And a lot of people, I've recently came to realize, is that they are so subjective, they are so condemned in their own subjectivity, that convicted in their, that's the word I'm looking for, so convicted in their subjectivity that they have convinced themselves that their subjectivity is actually reality, the objective of reality. And it's just not true. And a lot of people, I've came to realize, is that they believe their truth is the truth. There is a difference between your truth and the truth. And you have to actually get rid of, you have to really eliminate your culture and kill this attachment of this internal self-identity that you have of yourself. For you to really be able to remove your lens, remove your perspective, and really see the world for what it is, for what it actually is. Eliminating victimhood and taking on accountability requires a lot for a person to do, and people are not going to do that. They may make it seem like that's what they do, but when you hear a person complain all the time and blame other culture, other ethnicities, other races, blame the whole world, besides actually blaming themselves of why things that they don't like in their lives is that they're experiencing, that's when you know right there that they are more in the subjective, convincing medium of their own reality. It's a hard pill to swallow, and when you really don't, how can I say this? When you are really not worried about, or not even worried, don't even care about how others really view you. Or maybe we all care to some extent, but some of us care more than others. And some of us wants to be liked and accepted more than others. But when you really get down to the meat of it, and you're so focused on your vision and focus on your own world, because when you start to realize there's not much you can do to really so much, how can I put this, make the world a better place, or try to make other people's lives better. There's not that much that you can do if people don't want to do it themselves. And to be honest, it is your job to take care of your own house before you step out of your house trying to take care of somebody else's house, or trying to take care of so much of the world. So many people think they are that they are called on this mission to go out and just put their hands into the world and redesign it, as if that perspective is great for all, is a solution for all. Do you not know how dangerous that sounds? Do you not know how dangerous that is? Me, I created this channel I am building to better my own life. And if others decide to come along and buy into my philosophy, into my Dante verse, into my world, they are more than likely, they are more than welcome to do so. Yes, I want to be extremely wealthy, and I'm building wealth. But I don't want to be wealthy by manipulating and fooling other people, that using these cliche, ridiculous words, if we really look deep into them, that I want to solve problems. I want to make the world a better place. I've always said this time and time again. Solutions don't exist. Why do I say solutions don't exist? Because I like to think of my life as a lab, as a video game, or I can guess you say both. And I have my philosophies on why I like to think of my life like that. Because right now, I'm on a level of where my pain came to suffering, and my pain has transitioned into suffering because I've ignored too many pain points in my life, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing now. I am now hunting pain in my life that I have neglected, and I am becoming a synthesizer, a mad scientist, collecting data and information, filtering out all the ridiculous and nonsense information that I don't need, that won't pertain to my problems and my pain, but I'm using the ones that is valuable for me to use and build with, so I can reach to another level. That's part of the game. That's the way I look at my life as a video game. What do I mean by my life being a laboratory? I look at the world as my lab. I look at the world as my lab because I carry my notebook around with me wherever I go. I carry my brand around with me wherever I go. I carry my business around with me wherever I go. And I talk of my brand, of my business, as if it's a part of me, because it is a part of me. I think very intentionally of what I want to say to others. I have to be authentic wherever I go, because regardless if people agree with me or not of what I'm saying and where I'm coming from, they know for a fact that I am convinced in what I do. I am authentic in what I am building and what I do. I am living and breathing the business that I am building. And how am I living and breathing the business that I am building? How am I building my business? Because the more I evolve, the more my business will evolve. That's the act of me building my business. I have made the business. It's like Iron Man in his Iron Man suit. It is a part of him. That's the way I look at it. Batman in his utility belt. It is a part of him. That's the way I look at it. And I'm not in the business of trying to convince people of my philosophy. I am in the business. Now this is going to sound kind of contradicting. I am in the business to provide the wealth of valuable facts and data and information to you all, to people, whoever wants to really reach to the next level and consistently keep evolving in their life. For people who wants to be self-reliant, because really that's the only way. You can't expect other people to fix your life. Even if somebody destroyed your life, even if somebody did terrible things to you, at the end of the day, they can't fix their life for you. Yes, that's crazy how the world works. That's crazy how reality is, but that's the truth. Think about people who are victims of so many catastrophes or things that other people has caused them. Those people have moved on with their life, and you're still there, hurt, broken, damaged. Your soul is damaged. Your soul, because it's so fragile, is fractured. And then you know that You can't expect other people to come fix it. You can't expect other people to come fix it. You can't expect the person who hurt you to come fix it. You know, at the end of the day, there's something in your mind where you have to transform, evolve your mind. You can get all the great specialists, all the great therapists, you can do it all. At the end of the day, it's still going to come to you to make a difference and to change and to evolve and to transform, to transcend, to use that pain, to use that suffering for the betterment of your, in alignment of your evolution. Personal evolution is what I care about. Personal evolution is what I educate, what I teach, what I will continue to keep exploring, discovering, exploring, digging deep, and so on and so on and so on. Because personal evolution affects us all. But I know not all of us is going to actually care really to the extent, to the obsession of evolution. We may even do care. Some of us may, and I will say, just for the hell of it, I will say that how about everybody will care, but not everybody is going to want to do the necessary work, because there's still going to be people who's going to be expecting other people to do the work for them. You can't do valuable work and point and play the victim. And for you to advance, it's impossible to really truly evolve your soul into awaken your indomitable spirit and play the victim role. It's impossible. You are lying to yourself by thinking that you are, because evolution requires you to kill the old self, to remove the old self, and for you to keep transforming. And killing in the old self, like I said, I use this lexicon. I say DE, the acronym DE, die every day. You have to die every single day for you to keep evolving. And dying every day requires you not to hold on to your past, regardless if you are the victim or not. Pain can evolve us, or we can use pain as suffering, or we can suffer and marinate in our own past because somebody else did something to us, or because something happened to our ancestors, or whatever. At the end of the day, it is your responsibility to take the action of evolution. You think you're questless, you're broken. That's what they tell you. You're lost because you lack a quest, as if all you need is a shiny new mission to fill the void. But the truth is sharper, heavier, undeniable. You are broken. And that is not a curse, that's the advantage. Because fracture is where light enters. Break is where leverage hides. The scar is proof you've been tested by fire and lived. Questless, that's boredom. Boredom and pain doesn't let you meander through side missions. Pain drags you straight into the final boss fight on day one. This is the doctrine. Pain is not a detour. Pain is the curriculum. Pain is a fracture. Pain doesn't just bruise, it cracks. It splinters your illusions. It splits the false story you told yourself into jagged edges. Most people are terrified of this crack. They see it as weakness, as proof that they're fragile. But it's the opposite. The break is the only moment in your life that's real enough to be worked with. A flawless surface has no grips, nothing to hold on to, nothing to climb. But fracture, that's where you dig your nails in and begin to ascend, evolve. The fracture is leverage. The wound is the workshop. Pain can be used as rage. Pain cuts so deep it hollows you out. It digs trenches inside your chest, valleys so cavernous they echo. And what fills those trenches is rage. Not petty anger, not passing irritation, rage. The primal fire that roars when you've been denied, betrayed, dismissed. Rage is the raw current pain leaves behind when it burns everything else away. Harnessed rage becomes energy. It's the heat of the forge. Pain is the chisel. Rage is the hammer. You are the stone becoming form. Use pain as language. Before you ever learned to say mama or no, you spoke fluently in pain. Crying was your first dialect. Hunger, pangs, your first alphabet. Pain was the only signal you trusted because it never lied to you. It was the only voice loud enough to force action. Pain is the mother tongue of consequence. This is why words rarely change people. People don't learn from words. They learn from wounds. Most ignore lectures, books, even sermons. But consequences? They carve their message so deep you carry it into your bones. You can forget advice. You cannot forget the scar. This is why I say to most people, I don't need your advice. I'm too self-reliant to receive your advice. I say this to most people, especially people who are living a lifestyle or living the life that I don't want to have. And I will advise you to do the same. Why? Listen to your experiences. You have experienced a lot of pain in your life, and you have overcame a lot of pain in your life. If you're aware of it or not, but be aware of it. I said to kill your own self and to die every day, to remove, to leave the past in the past, to cut off the past, and to keep continuing on building the future. But before you do that, there's a prerequisite. Learn from your experiences, and then die every day. Cut off the past. Don't be attached to the past. Don't be attached to anything. Detachment is your power. Pain is consequence. This is the doctrine nobody wants to hear. Life is not a story engine. It's a consequence machine. Stories can be edited, rewritten, dramatized. Consequences, they arrive blunt and brutal. You can't negotiate with them. You waste years drifting. Consequence, stagnation, irrelevance. You ignore your health. There's a consequence. Collapse and decay. You run from pain. The consequences suffer. It hunts you louder, closer, sharper. Every consequence is a lesson if you allow it to be. Pain is the feedback loop, more honest than dopamine, more permanent than pleasure. Pain as teacher. This is the radical truth. You don't need a quest. You need a teacher. And the only teacher who never lies is pain. Pain is life's most honest teacher. Pain doesn't flatter. Pain doesn't care about your feelings. Pain doesn't hand out participation trophies. Pain doesn't negotiate. Pain shows you reality stripped. Consequence bare. Truth unpainted. It deepens, sharpens, carves. It hollows you out until all that's left is fuel. And if you submit to the curriculum, pain doesn't just teach you to endure. It teaches you to evolve. My favorite word. Next to build. Evolution. Pain is the only teacher, again, that doesn't lie. Pain, as cruel as it is, it will not lie to you. Happiness lies to you. It makes you believe things will last forever. But nothing does. We talked about this. Everything has an end. It has a beginning, it has an end. Even actions that masquerade as love often deceives you. They're what I call fabricated love. Performances, gestures, words that look like devotion, but rot when tested. Pain never lies. That I should stress again, that I said like many times. Pain shows you the truth you don't want to experience. Pain will change on you. The love they display will rot because it was never love at all. Pain will show you that loyalty, when tested, is nearly non-existent. Pain will teach you that trust is dangerous. Pain will tell you to stop expecting angels in the dark world full of demons. I would say that again. I repeat myself so you can get what I'm saying sometimes. Pain, not that I'm saying that you're losing me or anything. I'm just saying that a big part of communication is repeating yourself. I've heard people, they will say stuff like, I'm tired of repeating myself. But under that same breath, they will say they're a strong communicator. Repeating yourself is a big part of communication. You're going to have to repeat yourself all the time. I repeat myself a lot, and I do that because it's a strong form of communication. It's a powerful form of communication. Repeating yourself. Pain will force you to rely on no one but yourself. Pain will force you to be self-reliant. Once you accept this, you stop waiting for illusions, you become resilient. Still. And no one powerful ever became powerful through comfort. Not with true power. True power is born of darkness, forged in fortresses, with walls so high that betrayal can no longer breach them. This is sovereignty. This is your domain. And the only way to endure this kind of world is to build breakthrough fortresses. Not for hiding, but for conquering. Through pain, you will form, as what I would like to label it as, through pain, you will develop into blue twisted steel. I know you suffered a lot. I know you've been hurt by the people you gave everything to. They took your kindness like it was free lunch, as if it cost you nothing. People will walk around like they're invincible, blind to the wreckage their actions cause. But it cost you everything. It cost your soul. And your soul is bleeding because you cared. They drained you. They tore pieces out of you. And then with audacity only cowards know, they left you broken, disposable, forgotten. They moved on like nothing happened. But you're still here. And that makes you dangerous. The pain broke you, yes. But broken doesn't mean permanent. Broken doesn't mean weak. Pain strips you to raw still. And still doesn't break. But you're not just still. You are blue twisted still. You know what blue twisted steel? The hardest, most durable substance in the universe. That's what you are. A phrase the old world used before 1960. A phrase whose origin is lost but whose truth is undeniable. That's you. Blue, twisted, steel. That's your revolution. Through pain. Nothing can beat it. Nothing can outbend it. Because blue twisted steel, like you, is born in fire. The fire is the most unbearable pain known to man. Fire consumes. Fire devours. Fire takes everything in its path and leaves only ash. Yet you walked through it. The flames licked at you. The heat tried to unmake you, but you endured. And enduring, you were transformed. Blue twisted steel isn't natural. It's forged. Only fire can birth it. Only pressure can twist it. Only pain can harden it. That's why you are indestructible now. The fire didn't stop you. It forged you. And when the fire receded, what remained was something the world cannot bend, cannot melt, cannot destroy. Blue twisted steel is testimony. The proof that you can walk through hell and come out sharper than the flames that tried to consume you. And that's you now. The pain didn't make you soft. It made you sharp, calculated, precise, intimidating in a way that teaches people how to treat you before they even met you, because you carry the doctrine of consequence in your presence. Cross you once, and the lesson is eternal. Have you ever noticed how people love preaching loyalty until it's their time to show it? Pain already taught you. Loyalty is not a word. It's a scar. You don't hear it, you wear it. Use your brokenness as power, not weakness. You think being broke makes you weak? No. Broken makes you powerful. So powerful that you become a threat. Weakness is when you still have something left to lose, when you're attached to illusions, hoping or expecting the world to treat you fairly just because you were good. But detachment doesn't care. Detachment is freedom. You don't live authentically with the expectation that mankind will reward you. You live authentically because your soul demands it. You live for yourself because in the end, you will only have yourself. You keep waiting, hoping those who hurt you, scarred you, abandoned you will come back and make it right. Keep waiting. Keep wasting your time because they won't. When you've lost it all, when you've grieved until every drop of energy has seeped into the soil of a dead field, what's left for this world to take from you? What's left for others to take from a broken soul, a broken person? What's left? Nothing. And that is the entire point. The old you that was crucified by this road is gone, dead. And what remains is free. Free from expectation, free from illusion, free from the poison of believing people will love you the way you love them. Now you are still. Blue, twisted, still. Still doesn't bend. Still cuts. You are the warning sign. Approach. And they will bleed. That's you. Blue, twisted, still. The mind is your lab. Pain is your teacher. Obsession is your weapon. Evolution is your accession. This is the beginning, the fracture, the fire, the language, the consequence, the teacher. This is the foundation. This is part 1. Part 2 will take us deeper into the lab. We'll return pain into process, scars into systems, wounds into weapons. Here is the irony of pain. The irony of pain is their punishment. I say we are all just darker versions of one another. The people who hurt you don't even realize what they created. They thought they broke you, but in truth, they were building you. They thought they cut you down, but they were carving out the monster who no longer fears losing anyone. That's the irony of pain. It punishes those who causes it. They think they won when they walked away. They think they crippled you when they betrayed you. But what they really did was ignite the forge. They created their own punishment. Because the new you, the dark mode version of you, is sharper, more precise, more intentional, more concentrated. This version of you doesn't waste energy on illusions. This version of you cares only about the version worth bleeding for. This version of you only cares about the vision worth bleeding for. Your vision worth bleeding for. That version of you, like I said, chasing the highest version of yourself. That version of you, transcended, unbending, unstoppable, powerful, relentless, is a nightmare they never saw coming. Here's part 2, the lab. Psychology and inner engineering. The mind is your lab. How? If pain is the teacher, then the mind is the lab where every lesson is tested, measured, and repeated. You are both the experimenter and the experiment. Every scar is a data point. Every consequence is an equation written in blood. Every sleepless night is a trial run. Most people run from the lab. They don't want to see the test results. They bury them under distractions, scrolls, substances, fake victories, but the lab never closes. The experiment runs whether you participate or not. Pain keeps the light on. The ones who evolve are the ones who stay in the lab long enough to understand. Life is a feedback loop, not a fairy tale. Consequences can be used as an experiment. In the lab of the mind, consequences aren't punishments. They are data. Pain is the feedback loop that keeps no secrets. You neglect your craft, the lab records it as decay. You betray your principles, the lab records it as guilt and shame. You numb yourself with comfort, the lab records it as weakness and erosion. You see how that works? The lab doesn't judge, it measures. Consequence is neutral. But neutral doesn't mean painless, it means fair. You get exactly what you put in, nothing more, nothing less. And I don't really like using the term fair, but just for you to get what I'm saying, because I don't really think nothing in life is fair. I don't think life is fair, period. So I forget that I used the word fair, but just focus on neutral. But neutral doesn't mean painless. You get exactly what you put in, nothing more, nothing less. Most people fight the experiment. They resent the results. But resentment never rewrites the data. The lab doesn't care about excuses. It cares about cause and effect. Your obsession can be used as a weapon if you allow it. In the lab, there is one tool sharper than all the rest. Obsession. Obsession can be madness. Obsession is discipline in its purest form. Obsession is running the same experiment 1,000 times because you refuse to accept a half answer. Obsession is refusing to quit until the scar speaks its full lesson. This is why the world fears obsession. Obsessive men and women cannot be bought off with comfort. They cannot be distracted with dopamine, cheap dopamine at least. They are terrifying because they will bleed in the lab until the formula is perfect. Your pain armed you with obsession. You no longer dabble, you dissect. You no longer try, you test. You no longer wonder, you weaponize. The lab is where your suffering is refined into sharpness. Every scar is a ledger entry. Every bruise, a notation. Every heartbreak, a chart. The lab is where you take the chaos of your suffering and arrange it into a system that serves you. A failed business is not just a loss, it's a data set on what the market ignores. A betrayal is not just a heartbreak, it's a data set on who deserves your loyalty. A rejection is not the humiliation, it's a data set on how to sharpen your delivery. See about how you can use your mind to perceive things that happens to you. Experiencing reality. Being a realist is looking at the unseen. I'll say that again in a different way. Being a realist is seeing the unseen. Understanding. How do you understand? You dig to the context of things, the root cause of things, the underneath layer. The lab turns randomness into a repeatable process. You are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are an engineer of consequence. Pain gives you raw chaos, and in the lab, you transform it into structure. This experiment never ends. It's infinite. The greatest lie comfort tells you is that you will one day arrive. That you will graduate from the lab. But the lab never ends. The experiment runs until you take your final breath. Until death. The only question is whether you will participate consciously or drift as an unconscious subject in someone else's experiment. Most people are lab rats. A chosen few become the scientists. And rarer still, a dangerous minority become both. willing to dissect their own suffering, willing to test themselves against the fire, willing to weaponize their own wounds. That's you now. You are not avoiding the experiment. You are designing it. You are not running from consequence. You are documenting it. You are not crushed by pain. You are carving it into systems. One significant question divides the broken who stay victims from the broken who evolved into dark mode. One significant question. Instead of asking why me, ask what now. The first question, why me, chains you to the past. It keeps you orbiting betrayal, replaying pain, wasting your fire in memory. The second question rips you forward. It trains the mind to stop bleeding in the wound and start building with the scar. Why me is the question of despair. What now is the question of action. This shift is the red pill in motion. It's what turns, and what I mean by red pill, reality, truth, facts. It's what turns the private experiments of the lab into the public execution of dark mode. Dark mode, relentless, consistent, commitment, obsessive, into your deep work. You're hyper-focused. You are distractionless. When you stop asking why and start asking what, pain stops being your captor, it becomes your weapon. And here's the paradox. Dark mode is silence and strike. In silence and solitude, you forge yourself in the lab. Discipline, obsession, systems, scars turned into structure. But silence is not the end. Silence is the forge. The market is the battlefield. To remain silent forever is to become a monk locked away. Strong but unseen. So to shout without silence is to become noise. Loud, diluted, forgettable. Dark mode is both. In solitude, you build the weapon. In the market, you unsheath it. You know, when you're seeing, like, in those medieval times, the knights, when they unsheath their weapons. So, in the market, you unsheath your weapon. That's why the market is the next chapter. Because once you've been broken, once you've been remade into blue twisted steel, once you trained in the lab, the final question is no longer, why did this happen to me? The question is, how will I strike? The only peace you will ever get in this world is a solitude you give yourself. The mind is your lab. Pain is your teacher. Obsession is your weapon. Evolution is your ascension. The market is where we take what the lab forged inside and test it against the world outside, where invisibility, distraction, and betrayal are no longer private pains, but public battlegrounds. Invisibility is the heaviest coffin. To be unseen is to be erased while you're still breathing. No recognition, no acknowledgement, no witness to your existence. That is a pain deeper than failure, because at least failure proves you showed up. Invisibility proves nothing at all. And here's the brutal truth. The market doesn't feel sorry for you. The world doesn't owe you its eyes. If your work, your voice, your product is invisible, it's dead. Obscurity is the #1 killer of dreams. Brands and businesses. Most creators think their suffering ends once they build something. But creation is not the cure, visibility is. The doctrine is simple. Visibility is auction. Without it, the market doesn't even know you're suffocating. Think about this. You could have the best book, the sharpest offer, the most revolutionary idea, but if no one sees it, it rots in silence. The best craftsman dies unknown because his work was never displayed. The most disciplined entrepreneur collapsed because their message never reached the people who needed it. The lab forged your obsession, but the market tests whether it can pierce through the noise or not. If obscurity is your coffin, then attention is your resurrection. And attention is not given, it is seized, it is fought for, it is ripped from a distracted world by force. That fight is painful, that fight is war, but the alternative is worse, to exist and be unseen. The rare skill is seeing what others overlook, and then making it visible to the world. To pierce obscurity, you must learn to see the unseen, then drag it into the visible eye. This is how you transform invisibility into leverage, and leverage into power. If invisibility is the coffin, distraction is the undertaker. You weren't buried by chance. You were buried because your attention was stolen, fractured, and sold back to you in the form of dopamine hits. I'll say that again. You weren't buried by chance. You were buried because your attention was stolen, fractured, and sold back to you in the form of dopamine hits. Distraction is the silent accession of greatness. Excuse me. Distraction is the silent assassin of greatness. It doesn't strike like fire. It seeps like poison. A scroll here, a notification there, a detour into someone else's drama. And suddenly your vision has been diluted into static. The market feeds on distraction. Entire industries profit off your divided mind. They know that if they can own your attention, they can own your future. Pain sharpens this truth. The distracted are devoured. In business, distraction means chasing 10 strategies at once and mastering none. In life, distraction means mistaking motion for progress, busy but barren. In creation, distraction means losing the silence where your sharpest ideas are forged. The lab taught you obsession. Obsession is the antidote to distraction. How can you be distracted when you are obsessed with where you're going? Obsessed with and where you're going is your vision, building your future. How can you be distracted? In a world of fractured focus, obsession is concentration so pure it cuts through the noise like a blade, because you are blue twisted still. The doctrine is simple. Attention is currency. Distraction is debt. Every second spent feeding distraction is a loan you can never repay. Every hour concentrated into obsession is an investment that compounds forever. This is chasing the highest version of yourself. Distraction doesn't just delay you, it replaces you. The distracted become spectators while the obsessed seizes the field. Here is the pain of no plan. If invisibility is the coffin and distraction is the undertaker, then drift is the graveyard, and drift is born from having no plan. I've always been opposed to plans, but at the same time, I understand that there is a time and place for planning. I just never really liked plans. I never liked that word because so many people swears on it like it's the only thing that matters. There are other methods that's way more, principles, I guess you could say, that is way more important than planning. Not saying that plan isn't needed, but it's definitely should not be a priority, and it's definitely not the most significant. Systems, leverage, strategy. Most people confuse freedom with aimlessness. They call it living in the moment, but really it's death by diffusion. Without a plan, or at least a framework, your energy leaks into every crack until nothing remains strong enough to cut through. The doctrine is simple. If you aim at nothing, pain will still find you, but you'll have no leverage to use it. Here's the paradox. Plans are fragile. Life rarely respects your script. This is why I'm saying I hate when people swear on planning. One interruption, one betrayal, one catastrophe, and your plan burns like paper in fire. That's why the lab taught you to build frameworks instead. Frameworks adapt. Frameworks compress time. Frameworks let you take 1 hour and turn it into infrastructure, a page indexed, a system built, a product shipped. Frameworks are plans stripped of fantasy, or I should say illusions, and reinforced with consequence. The pain of no plan is distraction, wasting time, wasting years mistaking motion for progress, waking up with nothing compounding, nothing structured, nothing to show for all the suffering you endured. You don't need rigid plans. You need a spine. And a framework is a spine you can build muscle around, because without it, drift devours you. This is the pain economy. The pain economy. The market doesn't run on money, it runs on pain. Every product you see, Every business that thrives, every empire ever built, all of it traces back to a wound. People don't buy features. They don't buy products. They buy relief. They buy leverage against their pain. Fitness programs exist because people can't stand the pain of looking in the mirror. Luxury brands thrive because people fear the pain of insignificance. Therapists, coaches, and consultants profit because people ache from confusion, loneliness, betrayal. Even entertainment sells because people can't bear the pain of boredom. The doctrine is, like I said before in my last video, people build to sell to your senses. The doctrine is simple. Every transaction is a transfer of pain into power. This is why your own suffering is leverage. What broke you, what scarred you, what you survived, that is market research written in your blood. If you can weaponize your wound, you can build products, systems, and brands that cut straight into the marrow of what people are desperate for. But most businesses lie to themselves and to their audience. They wrap pain in soft promises. Be happy. Get rich quick. Find your passion. Comfort marketing for a comfort drugged crowd. And it works for a time until pain shows up again, but only louder. The businesses that endure are built on radical truth. I wholeheartedly believe this. Pain never leaves. It only transforms. And if you can name it, frame it, and transmute it, you don't just win attention, you win loyalty. And I want to go back to saying businesses that endure are built on radical truth. People that endure are built on radical truth. Because pain never lies, and the one who speaks its language owns the economy. This is a battlefield. The lab is theory. The market is war. In the lab, you run experiments. You dissect, you measure, you weaponize. But no experiment survives first contact with reality unchanged. The moment your work enters the market, it is tested against forces you cannot control. Competitors, critics, copycats, chaos. And that's the battlefield. Pain sharpens you for this fight. Every betrayal, every failure, every wound was training for the real war. Putting yourself out there where the world can strike back. Invisibility was suffocating. Distraction was poison. Drift was decay. The market is all of them at once, multiplied. The doctrine is simple. If the lab forged you, the battlefield proves you. On the battlefield, competitors will aim for your weakness. Customers will test your conviction. Copycats will steal your work and force you to be sharper, faster, and even better. Chaos will break every plan and force you to adapt in real time. The weak resent the battlefield. They want markets to be fair, critics to be kind, outcomes to be predictable. But fairness is friction. Markets are blood sport. The obsessed embraces this because the battlefield is the only place where scars become strategy, where consequence becomes currency, where pain becomes power in full view of the world. This is the final transition. From solitude to strike, from silence to dominance, the lab prepared you. The market tests you. The battlefield crowns you. Visibility is oxygen. Attention is currency. Frameworks are the spine. Pain is the economy. The battlefield is war. You stepped out of the silence and into strike. You've seen the markets are not run on fairness, but on fire. You've learned that invisibility suffocates, distraction devours, drift decays, and that every transaction is pain, transformed into power. Life is no different. You are a sovereign nation of one. Your body is your territory. Your mind is your command center. Your time is your most limited resource. And survival demands you defend all three. Pain enforces this law brutally. Hunger is a siege. Exhaustion is an invasion. Betrayal is a civil war inside your walls. Most people collapse because they never built fortresses strong enough to endure. They make comfort for safety, distraction for peace, routine for sovereignty. What pain teaches. Survival is not granted, it is taken. It is enforced by vigilance. It is the discipline of treating your own existence as territory worth defending. If you don't govern yourself as a nation, the world will occupy you as a colony. Survival at its core is sovereignty. To say I will endure is to declare war on collapse. Power is not about titles, wealth, or prestige. Power is about pain. Always has been, always will be. The powerful are those willing to endure more pain than others, or those willing to inflict more pain without hesitation. Nations know this, leaders know this, and if you are a sovereign individual, you must know it too. Power flows toward pain. The athlete who trains longer, suffers deeper, and sacrifices more dominates the one who seeks balance. The entrepreneur who bleeds through rejection and failure commands leverage the comfortable never touch. The man who cannot last humiliation, betrayal, and isolation becomes untouchable. Power isn't given, it's extracted, it's taken from those who refuse to suffer and consolidated by those who accept the cost. This is why pain is not just your teacher, it is your armory. Every wound you carry, every scar you earned, every moment you endured without breaking, those are weapons. And once you realize this, pain stops being punishment. Pain becomes power. Betrayal isn't just personal, it scales. When a friend betrays you, it feels like collapse. But when a system betrays you, an institution, a company, a community, the fracture multiplies. It's not just trust that dies, it's structure, order, belonging. That's why betrayal is war. On the micro level, it is treason inside your walls. On the macro level, it is revolution, the tearing apart of what once held. The doctrine is sharp. Betrayal is the collapse of illusion. The illusion that loyalty is guaranteed. The illusion that promises are permanent. The illusion that people, groups, or systems will value you as much as you value them. Pain teaches you that betrayal is not an exception, it is the rule. And once you accept this, you stop collapsing every time it strikes. You stop expecting permanence in a world that trades loyalty like currency. The betrayed who survive are those who respond like sovereign nations. Fortify their walls, redesign their systems, adapt their alliances. Never let the same breach happen twice. Please don't. Betrayal will happen again, but each scar becomes a blueprint for stronger defenses. This is how sovereignty is born, not in peace, but in the endless recalibration of war. The war of all against all. Thomas Hobbes called it centuries ago. Life is a war of all against all. Strip away laws, contracts, and handshakes, and what remains is raw competition for survival. And on the micro level, you feel this daily. Every room you enter, every platform you post on, every negotiation you walk into, beneath the surface is conflict. A clash of wills, a test of strength. Most people pretend otherwise. They dress the battlefield in polite words, false smiles, and empty promises, but pain rips the veil away. It reminds you of the truth. Everyone is fighting for something, and often it's at your expense. If you don't play the game of war, you are the territory being fought over. In business, competitors don't want to collaborate. They want your customers. In relationships, people don't always want harmony. They want dominance, validation, control. In society, institutions don't want fairness. They want obedience. This doesn't mean paranoia. It means awareness. It means awareness. War is not always bombs and blades. War is leverage, positioning, influence. War is constant. Once you accept this, the question changes. No longer, why is this happening to me? But how do I arm myself? Because the war is happening whether you fight back or not. If survival is law, power is leverage, and betrayal is inevitable, then sovereignty demands one thing above all. Build your fortress. The fortress is not walls of stone, it is discipline, it is self-governance, it is the ability to stand alone when every alliance fractures. Pain forces this lesson, because every time the world betrays you, every time comfort collapses, every time illusions rot, you realize that the only walls you can trust are the ones you built yourself. Your sovereignty is your survival. Your mind is the command center. Guard it with focus. Your time is your territory. Defend it with precision. Your body is your army. Train it to endure. Your values are your constitution. Enforce them ruthlessly. Without a fortress, you are exposed. The world storms your gates. Every distraction, betrayal, or invader takes a piece of you until nothing remains. But with a fortress, you are untouchable. You may be attacked. You may be tested. But you will not collapse. This is what pain has been teaching you from the beginning. To build sovereignty so strong that no betrayal can break you. No distractions can dilute you. No invasion can conquer you. The sovereign fortress is not isolation. It is dominance. It is declaring, this territory is mine. This command is mine. This war is mine. Survival is sovereignty. Power flows to pain. Betrayal is the rule. War is constant. The fortress is you. So now the war is no longer outside. It is within you, around you, and against you. You've learned that life is not peace interrupted by conflict, but war interrupted by brief illusion of peace. You are no longer colony, but a nation. No longer subject, but sovereign. The lab forged you. The market tested you. The battlefield crowned you. The war now defines you. Evolution, where pain is no longer merely survived, weaponized, or waged. The most unbearable pain isn't failure. It is betrayal. It isn't even lost. The most unbearable pain is stagnation. Being trapped as the same version of yourself long after pain has demanded you evolved. Stagnation is slow suffocation. It feels like safety at first, the comfort of routine, the illusion of stability, but over time it becomes rot. Your mind dulls, your spirit withers, your body decays, and all the while life moves on without you. To resist evolution is to choose a living death. Pain exposes stagnation for what it really is. Cowardice in disguise. Every scar you carry is a summons to ascend. Every wound is a command to move forward. To stay the same after pain has carved you is to betray the very gift that suffering gave you, the chance to be remade. The man who refuses to change repeats his betrayals. The creator who clings to old methods dies in obscurity. The warrior who fights with yesterday's tactics is slaughtered on tomorrow's battlefield. Pain is the engine. Evolution is the demand. To ignore it is to suffer twice. Once from the wound and again from the waste. Transformation is not smooth, it is violent. It is this ripping apart of everything familiar, the burning of bridges you thought you couldn't live without, the depth of identities you spent years clinging to. That's why most people avoid it. They think they fear failure? No. What they really fear is transformation, because transformation hurts worse than standing still. Evolution always costs more than comfort. Growth means leaving behind people who won't follow. That's painful. Reinvention means killing off versions of yourself that once felt permanent. That's painful. Ascension means saying no to distractions, illusions, and even loves that can't survive the climb. That's painful. But here's the paradox. The pain of transformation is temporary. The pain of stagnation is eternal. The cocoon feels like a coffin until the wings break through. The fire feels like execution until the steel hardens. The wound feels like death until it becomes a scar that saves you. Pain teaches this. Transformation is not the end. It is the unveiling of you. And while it costs us everything, it is the only currency worth paying. That's why transcendence feels unbearable, because it is not just suffering, it is surrender. But on the other side of that surrender is not freedom, it is autonomy. Autonomy means self-rule. Autonomy means no outside force governs your choices, your mind, your life. But autonomy is not the final stage, it is the seed. Autonomy is sovereignty in embryo. Sovereignty is autonomy fully realized. Autonomy is the daily reality of DE, die every day. The immediate discipline of governing yourself, refusing illusions, burying weakness, and reinforcing your own rule. Sovereignty is the fortress that autonomy grows into. It is not just self-rule, but self-dominion. Not just surviving the world, but shaping how the world treats you. Not just being untouched, but being untouchable. The paradox holds. Transcends, hurts more than staying the same. But the one who dies every day claims autonomy now and sovereignty forever. Evolution doesn't just change you, it arms you. Every cycle of pain and transcendence leaves you carrying something the old you and the stagnant masses will never possess. What breaks most people becomes your weapon. The scar others hide becomes your proof. The rejection that silences them becomes your story. The failure that cripples them becomes your framework. The loneliness that kills them becomes your solitude, your forge. This is why the evolved are dangerous. They are armed with weapons. They cannot be bought, copied, or stolen because the price was pain. Others want shortcuts. They want knowledge without scars, wisdom without wounds, victory without loss. But you cannot counterfeit a weapon forged in fire. You cannot fake steel hammered by suffering. Every time you die and rise again, you live with a new weapon. Sharper vision, deeper resilience, unshakable sovereignty. And while the world still bleeds from the same wounds, you cut through with what they fear most, a man who has already endured worse. The new you doesn't beg for peace. The new you arrives armed. Pain was never the enemy. It was the stairway. Every wound was a step. Every betrayal, every fracture, every scar was a rung on the ladder you were first to climb. Ascension is not leaving pain behind. Ascension is standing on top of it. The doctrine is simple. Pain does not disappear, it elevates. The wound that nearly killed you becomes the foundation. The wound that nearly killed you becomes the foundation that steadies you. The betrayal that shattered you becomes the wall you lean on. The loneliness that suffocated you becomes the air you breathe. This is why the evolved move differently. They don't flinch when storms hit, because storms built them. They don't beg for comfort, because comfort weakens them. They don't collapse under weight, because weight crowned them. Ascension is the moment pain stops being teacher or weapon, it becomes throne. You no longer just survive it. You no longer just fight with it. You rule from it. The world sees scars. You see steps. The world sees wounds. You see wings. The world sees loss. You see the doctrine of ascension. Every pain endured was the elevation that raised you. The world sees wounds. You see wings. The world sees loss. You see the doctrine of ascension. Every pain endured was the elevation that raised you. Stagnation is death. Transformation is fire. Transcendence is surrender. D.E. Die every day. Autonomy is the seed. Sovereignty is the crown. Pain is the stairway. Ascension is the throne. Pain was never random. It was always in architecture. Every scar was the step. Every betrayal was the rung. Every depth of self is the higher elevation. All doctrine begins with pain. Philosophies shift, economies collapse, empires fall, but pain endures. It is the only teacher that does not lie, the only law that does not bend, the only constant that does not break. The doctrine is simple. Pain is the foundation of reality. In the lab, pain is experiment. In the market, pain is leverage. In war, pain is survival. In evolution, pain is ascension. Every other law flows from this one. Ignore it and you build on sand. Accept it and you build on bedrock. The weak seek to numb it, deny it, bury it under pleasures and distraction. The strong face it, name it, weaponize it, and the sovereign ascends by it. Pain is not a phase to escape. It is the ground you stand on, the truth you build on, the furnace that forges you. This is the first law, the law of pain. Pain by itself is chaos. Left unclaimed, it breaks you, blinds you, buries you, but when claimed, it becomes leverage. Force multiplied, scars converted into weapons, wounds transmuted into strategy. Every scar is stored energy. Leverage it or lose it. The heartbreak that silences most can become your story. Sharper, truer, undeniable. The rejection that cripples most can become your drive, pushing you past their limits. The failure that ends most can become your blueprint, a map of what to never repeat. Leverage is what separates the sovereign from the broken. Everyone bleeds, but not everyone multiplies what bled them. Everyone suffers, but not everyone converts suffering into strength. The weak let pain in them. The sovereign lets pain arm them. The law is this: pain is inevitable, leverage is optional, and the one who chooses leverage writes the future. The ultimate test of pain is whether it governs you or whether you govern it. Most people are colonies, occupied by distraction, conquered by betrayal, controlled by fear. Their sovereignty is outsourced to others. Bosses, governments, lovers, strangers online. They live as tenants inside their own lives. The doctrine is clear. If you do not rule yourself, you will be ruled. Your body is your territory. If you neglect it, weakness occupies it. Your mind is your command center. If you abandon it, noise invades it. Your time is your currency. If you waste it, others will spend it for you. Sovereignty begins with autonomy, the daily rule of self, through D.E. Die every day. But autonomy is not the end. Sovereignty is autonomy. Crown. Autonomy fortified. Autonomy recognized by the world as inaccessible. This is the law. Govern yourself as a nation or be governed as a slave. And once you claim sovereignty, every scar, every betrayal, every battle stops being chaos and becomes constitution. This is the law of war. Life is not peace interrupted by conflict. Life is war interrupted by brief illusions of peace. Most people are deluded because the battlefield is disguised. No swords, no shields, no marching armies. But the war is everywhere. In markets, in relationships, in attention, in time. Every moment is contested. Every inch is fought over. The doctrine is blunt. If you don't fight, you are fought forever. In business, competitors want your share. Your clients, your leverage, and relationships, people wrestle for control. Validation, dominance. In society, institutions seek obedience, not fairness. The war does not wait for your consent. It simply unfolds. To deny it is to lose by default. To accept it is to arm yourself. Pain is your proof that war is real. Every betrayal, every failure, every fracture, it was not just life happening. It was conflict, an invasion, a skirmish meant to test your sovereignty. The sovereign does not resent the war, he thrives in it because the war proves him. The war crowns him. This is the law. Life is war, and only the armed survive. Pain begins as burden, then it becomes weapon. Finally, it becomes throne. This is the final law. Pain does not just teach, break, or arm you, it elevates you. The scar that once humiliated you becomes the mark that commands respect. The rejection that once crushed you becomes the fuel that propels you higher. The loneliness that once suffocated you becomes the solitude that crowns you. Ascension is not escape from pain, it is sovereignty over pain. It is standing above what once dragged you under, using the very weight that broke you as a platform that raises you. The world sees wounds as weakness. The sovereign sees them as wings. The world calls scars ugly, the sovereign calls them scripture. Ascension is the culmination of all laws. Pain endured, pain leveraged, sovereignty claimed, war survived. The staircase is steep, but every steep is etched in your flesh. The doctrine is this: every rung of pain is elevation. Those who climb it rule themselves. Those who refuse it are ruled forever. You began broken. You became still. You forged in silence. You fought in markers. You ruled in war. You rose in evolution. And now in doctrine, you are indivisible. This is the legacy, where your pain, once private, becomes eternal, where the scars outlive you and the doctrine is passed on as scripture for those who come after. Every scar you earn proves one thing: you are temporary. Flesh rips. Time erodes. Life ends. Mortality is the most honest pain, because it reminds you that no matter how sovereign you become, your body will one day collapse. Pain makes you mortal. Legacy makes you eternal. Most people deny this. They live as if time will not run out, wasting their energy on distractions and illusions. But the sovereign faces it. Mortality is not the enemy, it is the deadline. And deadlines are leverage. You will die. The question is, will your doctrine die with you, or will it outlive you? This is the pain of being forgotten. Death is not the greatest fear. Being forgotten is. To live, suffer, bleed, and endure, and for it to vanish the moment you're gone, is a second death, more brutal than the first. This is where legacy begins. Legacy is a transmutation of pain into permanence. It is scars converted into scripture, betrayal converted into blueprints, suffering converted into systems that can be passed on. Scars are scriptures. Write them so the world can read them. A book outlives your body. A system outlasts your struggle. A creed survives your collapse. Legacy is not what you leave behind. Legacy is what cannot be erased after you're gone. Your pain was never meant to end with you. It was meant to be multiplied. The sovereign knows this. The highest form of power is not keeping scars private, but transmitting them into doctrine that strengthens others. Legacy is the export of sovereignty. When you speak your scars, you weaponize others. When you systemize your suffering, you build fortresses others can inhabit. When you codify your doctrine, you make your existence immortal. Legacy is the war report you pass on to the next generation of soldiers. It is the fortress blueprint you hand to the next sovereign. It is this doctrine you write in blood, so no one has to suffer blind again. This is the paradox. The very thing that broke you is the only thing that outlives you. Your scars, your betrayals, your survival, all of it becomes scripture if you choose to record it. The weak suffer and vanish. The sovereign suffers and multiplies. Pain ends you. Legacy resurrects you. Mortality is the deadline. Obscurity is the second death. Scars are scripture. Doctrine is immortality. Legacy is resurrection. You were broken. You became still. You forged in silence. You fought in markets. You ruled in war. You ascended in evolution. You are unified in doctrine. And now, in legacy, you outlive yourself. Your scars speak after you fall. Your doctrine survives when your flesh does not. Your legacy becomes the scripture others sharpen themselves against. Pain was never your punishment. pain was your portal. And now, through legacy, pain becomes your resurrection. That's the end of the video, and I thank you all so much for watching. And like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know how you feel. Give me your perspective on pain. And the Dark Mode guide is in the description. And I am currently working on the Pain Lab report for you to be able to document and record your pain points in life. So that way you can be more aware of your pain points. Because I once was not aware of my pain points, and it led me into unnecessary suffering. So documenting your pain will be essential for your evolution. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all. Take care.